Hello and welcome everyone. I'm on the road to find a new biome, but we have already found some top tier games in the Reddit comments. Our main topic today will be about relationships, so our most interesting story will come from relationship subreddit. And our first story is going to be this. My husband, 32 am, seems completely indifferent to my cancer diagnosis, and I, 28F, don't know how to handle it. I, 28F, am currently going through a cervical cancer diagnosis and I feel completely alone. From the start, I have gone to every single appointment by myself, like imaging, biopsy, everything. I have tried to talk to my husband, 30M, and just say 32M, okay, about how scared I am and what's happening, but he just gives short, dismissive response like heck yeah or cool and shuts the conversation down. A few days before I was supposed to receive my imaging results, he had a DJ event planned at the bar with friends. I told him I really needed him to stay at home with me because I was anxious and terrified. He said he couldn't cancel because he made a commitment to his friends. Went back and forth and I ended up going with him because I didn't want to find out the results alone. While I was there, his friend's wife told me she was pregnant. I tried my best to be happy and supportive, even so I was devastated knowing I'm not able to have more children. He knew she was pregnant beforehand. Then I got the news that I have a 2 centimeter tumor on my cervix. I ended up just crying alone upstairs. When I tried to talk to him, he brushed me off again because he was busy with his friends. He made a commitment. Yesterday, I had a LEEP procedure and biopsy of the tumor under general anesthesia. When I woke up, he said he had a toothache. I spent my time in post-op helping him find a dentist and manage his pain. He complained that it was taking so long, short 30 minutes procedure and 1 hour in post-op. At this church, the nurse tried to explain my instructions to him because I was still out of it and in pain. He was scrolling on Instagram and not paying attention. I had to call his name multiple times just to get him to sign the paperwork. After I asked if he could go to Olive Garden, it's something my mom used to do for me after hard days. He reluctantly agreed but barely spoke to me the entire time. Every time I made a conversation got shut down with one word responses, so I just sat there in silence and tried not to cry. When we got home, he sat on the couch watching YouTube while I handled all the nightly chores, let the dogs out, and struggled to follow my post-op care. I had to dig through a laundry basket to find reusable pads, and I had already asked him to wash, which may sound easy, but after everything, it was so physically difficult and exhausting. I gave up. Turns out he never took them out of the dryer in the basement. Weeks before the surgery, I made it really clear I needed help afterwards for the day, and he agreed. But I guess it was exchange things. Ironically enough, I was at the dentist earlier that morning before my procedure because I had tooth infection draining into my sinus cavity. He later went to the pharmacy but only picked up medication for his toothache, not the prescriptions my dentist and oncologist ordered for me. When I finally asked what was going on, he got upset that I'm not driving a 300 beater car I bought a few months ago. It needs a new radiator and I'm trying not to damage it further while sale plans. Meanwhile, he uses a nice Jeep that my mom bought for me and my son every day while I walk to work. I don't get to use my own car and he's mad at me that the beater I compromised for isn't running. I broke down and told him I wasn't going to argue about it today. I just got out of surgery and I was in pain. I feel like I'm going through one of the scariest moments of my life, completely alone, while also being treated like such a burden. I didn't even begin to address this kind of disconnect. TLDR, I'm going through a cervical cancer diagnosis and my husband has been emotionally absent the entire time. Won't engage in conversations, kept being there for important moments, ignored me after surgery, and prioritized himself, even picking up his meds but not mine. I feel completely alone and don't know how to handle a partner who seems indifferent during something that's serious. This this is a hard story. I can't begin to describe. I don't even know how to imagine such pain. Some of the comments, you don't address it. This isn't indifference. This man obviously hates you. You need to see a lawyer when you recover from this surgery. And another comment, having no partner at all would be better than having a partner who actively hates you, neglects all of your needs, and makes you feel fully unloved during one of the most difficult things a person can ever experience in their lifetime. You address this disconnect by leaving him. I agree. He hates her. He doesn't love her. He just completely hates her. I don't know about his relationship with his son, but he is not a partner. He is a roommate that doesn't even care about you. Even roommates sometimes care about you, but this man, he's a total stranger, and she should leave him. Perhaps she did. This is an old story. For our next story, this one will be from Relationships of Reddit 2, and the title is How Do I Handle My Boyfriend Getting Me Nosing for Christmas? My boyfriend 34M and I 34F have been together for a year and a half. We are very serious and have discussed marriage and children. We didn't get each other gifts for Christmas last year, and that's mainly because he didn't mention anything, so I assumed he wasn't getting me anything, and I was right. But now we live together with my two kids from my previous marriage and they love him. For Christmas, I bought him tickets to one of his favorite comedians, great seats, which were about $400 total. I told him 3 weeks ago when I bought them that I got him something really good and he's going to be so excited. I must have mentioned it at least 3 times. Money is also tight right now for me, not him. But I wanted to do something nice for him. So today, Christmas morning happens and I give my kids all their gifts, then hand him his and he's shocked when he opens it. Then he tried to sell him and tell me a sweater he bought me on his business trip 3 weeks ago was my yearly gift. I'm not an idiot. I held it together for the kids, but while we were in another room, I started sobbing. I do so much for everyone and got not a single gift for Christmas from anyone. It was so hurtful. He could have even taken the kids to Target to pick something cheap out for me, and I would have been happy. Clearly felt bad and was hugging me and apologizing, but now I'm starting to rethink my entire relationship. How do I handle this situation? How you are? My 34F boyfriend, 34M, of a year and a half who I live with, got me nothing for Christmas when I got him something amazing and expensive. What do I do? Some of the comments. Tell him you're considering commitment to him, and if he wants a relationship, he needs to do better. Also, in the future, make an effort to set a budget for birthdays and holidays verbally and together, so he knows what he should aim for. Don't bother spending money on someone who then reciprocate gifts. You're not wrong for being upset. OP replied, No, the money aspect does not bother me. It's 100% the lack of any thought whatsoever. Another comment. Did you get your kids anything? I'd be so sad if I didn't get anything. OP replied, he didn't get the kids anything, but got them very thoughtful gifts on his business trip a couple of weeks ago. I was a little disappointed when he didn't think to get them anything for Christmas from him, so. And the last highlighted comment, I hate to go all 1990s on you, but he is just not that into you. You're asking what to do, but what I think you're asking for is rationalization on how you can accept that he doesn't think you're worth the effort. Let me be as clear as I can. You're worth the effort. Okay, I kind of feel for this woman because it's never about the money. It's not even about the $400 tickets for her. It's about the fact that he didn't even have the soul to spend even $5 on her. Living together with kids is a serious step, but he's acting like a roommate for forgot rent. Um, but I do think I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here. I do think that he's just not that well. I know a person who didn't know that they were supposed to get something on the Valentine's Day for their partner. They knew it happened in media, but it never happened in their family, so they just assumed it was marketing scheme, and never got anything to anyone, which is not a shock that the relationship weren't that great. They're a very good person, but they were just were not taught how to be always about gifts. So perhaps this guy just had different family traditions. Maybe yes, maybe not. Or perhaps their last relationship, well, his last relationship was something of the kind. Like, let's just not give anything to each other. But we don't know. Okay. Our next story will have the title I, 26F, am losing all my hope in my fiance, 28M, after his parents died. My 26F fiance, 28N, has been losing it for a year now, ever since his parents tragically died in a car crash. Take it from the beginning and give it some background. He always felt like he owes his parents something. He was the youngest of four, and all the siblings went up high, made it through good universities, and got pretty prestigious jobs. He got on track, and for the past 2, 3 years became better. He threw it behind him and worked on himself, lost about 80 found hobbies, friends, as well as paying job, and he felt like he finally got it. Then he also got his PhD and proposed to me, which made his parents probably the proudest they have been. That happened about 2 weeks before the incident, and he was on top of the world until he wasn't. The day it happened, he got everything sorted out. His protocol that he'll take care of everything process-wise. And so he told me that he's going to rent a lodge in the mountains to just clear his hand and to try to get above things. I didn't know how to act, so I said, yes, sure, go do what you feel you need to do. He came back and told me that we have to talk. He said that he managed to get all the drugs he read could help and that he was mixing LSD, MDMA, shrooms, and some light opiates some day of the 2 weeks to try and reach ego deals and just take it all in. He probably did experience an ego deals, but ever since for the past 10 months, I feel like he's been stuck in it and he just isn't and doesn't want to be himself. He's a fairly tall guy, but still he got back to about 290 pounds. So the hating his looks and the whole world with it became just nihilistic. We went through post-relatives therapy, couples therapy, and he even got another therapist for himself. He does nothing with him. He takes them lightly, cynically, and just doesn't accept a word because he knows better. He cancels the wedding too because his parents won't be there and it's just not in place yet. But I feel like I'm at my end. I've given my all energy, mental health, work-life balance, everything, and I'm starting to lose everything I felt for us. Since we started working out together because we hated how we looked, I somehow got hate in my heart for it, and besides my work for his lack of life, joy, and belief in anything, I now also despise how he looks. I probably sound cruel, but I have to get it off my chest. He stopped caring for me and lost my any interest as he did with all other things. We had sex about 4 times in the whole year, and lately I'm absolutely not into it anymore physically. He also didn't care that I lost my job, and it took me 2 months to get a new one, and until now he doesn't know where I actually work. Every time my parents come to visit, he either gets sad to the point he tries up or just leaves the house. I don't know what to do anymore. I love him and I don't want to leave him, but it is taking so much time that I feel like this isn't grief anymore. It's just a person who gave up on life. Theodora, your husband lost all will to live and care for our relationship after his parents died. And I genuinely cannot comprehend how so many people back the fact that if someone's grieving in a way where they lose their job, their hobbies, lose everything to their partner, is completely normal. I have given my all to help, but the other person doesn't accept help, be it mine, therapy, or his relatives. He cut ties and burned ground. What I needed was advice. I burned out, not a cold-hearted killer. I love my fans. Okay, this one story is a bit hard. Some of the comments, a horrible tragedy befell your relationship and it's not strong enough to get through. I understand this, honestly. You are 26, ready to start your life and your future, and he is not. He can decide if you want to stick this out. You are under absolutely no obligation to. You're not married. You're free to go anytime. Another comment, I lost one of my parents in my mid-20s. It fucked me up for a while. Perhaps you two should take a break while he sorts himself out so that you don't become worse or resentful. If it was meant to be, you'll find your way back to each other. Okay, yeah, this one story is tragic, but I have to be kind of blind. Using LSD and shrooms to process the days of your parents and then checking out of your life for 10 months isn't exactly a grieving process. It's a ruination, like it's a ruin of a person. The way she described it, yeah, it's not normal grieving process in terms of if it's okay for a person to grieve this badly, and it's not something that happens usually. But I can understand this guy, but also he's ruining his life. You can love someone and still recognize that you know it's, that you can't set yourself on fire to just keep them warm. She's 26 and losing her life while he just won't accept any help and he's trying to just get lost in his own mind, I guess. It's not something that she wants to do and it's not something that she needs to do. He might lose his only last standing point he has in her, but it's not exactly her job. If she can't love him anymore, she shouldn't force herself to. It will just make them both miserable. Okay, I hope our next story will be more lighthearted, but I doubt it because our next story is from subreddit Emma's Asshole, and the title is Emma's Asshole for telling my wife that I'm ending our marriage because I found her brother at our house again. I said it in front of him. I think the title is somewhat makes you assume some things, but let's read the story. I, 38M, left my wife Kelly, 38F, today, 5 years together, 4 married. I have battled her lack of boundaries about her family for the past 2 years. I understand that they are very close knit, but she never paid attention to how their dynamic affected our relationship. I experienced it every just no family situation. My food was eaten, showing up uninvited, meddling, you name it. 9 months ago, mother-in-law and father-in-law become divorce proceeding. He cheated, fell madly in love with a side chick with whom he's lived for the past 15 years, and he decided that he wants to get remarried. He kicked everyone out of the house. It was an emergency, so I agreed to help out. I so freaking regret it. I had to take 4 people in, but they couldn't seem to avoid constantly pissing me off. I got sick of finding I'm using our private bathroom that had complete access to the other full bathroom by the hallway. My sister-in-law started taking naps on our bed, which is creepy because a bed is too personal. I come home late and we had to wake her up and still waited for her to snap out of her groggy state so that she could walk out. It lasted for 3 months, but the problem persisted. No matter how many times I told my wives and even told them, they still showed up at random hours. Even if I didn't run into them, I know she was allowing them to come over. I hated their presence. They would eat my snacks and get on my expensive recliner chair, which, again, they didn't contribute a penny for. I had them in an orchard and said they picked empty. Things got so tense that I blew up at her in front of them. They left me, we had a fight, and I ended up sleeping in a huddle. I warned her many times about being fed up and needing her to support me. She acted like I was demanding that she abandon her family. Today, I came to find her brother car blocking the entrance. Not on the side and not even on the driveway, just right in the middle where my only option would be to get on the lawn. I got inside. He is laying with stitches on the couch. He gave me this fresh smile like he is untouchable. I went to our bedroom and packed as much of my belongings as possible and ignored his pleas to talk. There's nothing else to talk about. I already called the few lawyers but haven't received any replies yet. She cried, but at this point I have no empathy. I don't even know if I overacted or if I needed to discuss this in private. I feel defeated and angry, and I also hate her family with my soul. They knew they were hurting our relationship and they didn't care. She knows that I'm a private person who has been invaded. I harmed them because I love her, and I didn't have the balls to let them go to sleep in their car. I don't have kids, but there are so many things that will be left undone. I loved her so much, but I just can't do this. She called me immediately after I left, and I told her that my decision is final. She sounded shaken, but I told her that right now I despise her and will never be able to sleep next to her again. Sorry for any typos. I have a migraine now. I'm just coming here because I just want to ask if I live in the way that I did was an asshole move, and maybe I should have announced my intention of ending our marriage after her brother was gone. Okay. For the thing that he's asking if he's an asshole for announcing that he's ending the relationship in front of her brother. This, in any normal situation, would have been an asshole move, but no, not the asshole. And not the asshole for living in general, because he did explain that it, it disturbs him, it makes him angry, it makes him uncomfortable, and she didn't care enough to let her family just not take over their life. Some of the comments. Not the asshole. I just surprised the fiancés immediately. Another comment. As an introvert, I am fully on your side. It takes energy to just to help people in my space for a few hours, and I would go bar me if it went on for weeks. The boundary stomping, invasion of privacy, stealing, and entitlement would help me in red rage. Your wife has walked all over your discomfort, ignored your needs, and placed you at the bottom of her priorities. I would leave too. I didn't leave a judgment, so here it is. Not the asshole. Someone replied, as an extrovert, I am well on his side too. No excuse for letting your family walk all over your partner. Yeah. You can't really expect to have for a relationship to survive when your family is always meddling with it, and they seem. I don't think they like the husband all too well. Like I think the hatred was mutual. Perhaps yes, perhaps not. We can't really know, but yeah, it's. I don't think he's a bad guy just because he left the situations that made him uncomfortable. She could plead with her family to just leave them alone, but she didn't, and she's now sad with the consequences. Our next story will come from subreddit Emma's asshole, and the title is Emma's asshole for being disgusted and just saying okay when my fiance broke up with me. So, I don't know, man. I, 28, had been with my fiance, Alex, 34, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off, and have had been together in science. We finished his doctorate in economics just last year. Since then, he has been working at the uni. I have my master's in media science and decided to start working instead of going for a PhD. Okay, so the problem is that Alex broke off with me last Monday. It was literally so surreal and honestly just weird. For the past few months, he'd been acting strange. He was making demands and then dropping them immediately. A few examples. He told me we were going to paint our walls back from dark green to white. When I asked why, he just said, for fuck's sake, forget it, and never brought it up again, even when I asked. The time he came home and got mad because I was sitting on the couch with my head covered in a blanket, I had crumbs. He was upset because I was just sitting there watching Netflix. Mind you, the house was spotless. When I tried to talk about it, he said, forget it, it's not a big deal. This kind of thing became common. Every time I tried to communicate, tried to figure out what was going on, whether it was something I did or maybe he was just stressed at work, he would just say everything was fine, but he was quickly seizing with rage. I didn't even have to do anything, he would find something to complain about. The apartment, clothes, me, work, etc. So I gave him space, which apparently was also wrong. I told him I was going to help my parents with repairs for a few days, and somehow it was also wrong because he wanted to renovate their apartment too. Then, on Monday, I got a text saying we needed to talk. I knew what was coming, and after the last 3 months, I had made peace with it. When I came home, he was sitting on the couch. He didn't even wait for me to take off my jacket before saying, I want to break up. Then the very diarrhea started. He told me he resented me. First because I didn't pursue my academic career further, even though I was capable and he didn't want to upset me at the time. Then, when I started making more money, since he didn't make much as a PhD student, he felt like I should have the last word financially and he hated it. Mind you, I never said anything like it's my money, so I have the final say. That's a rule he imposed on himself and he hated it. He said he hated our point scheme, the couch, and even our fucking crockpot. Then he told me he had rejected a better PhD program to stay here because I had already started my job by the time he got the acceptance letter. Only he never told me he had even applied to overseas. He said a few months ago he checked in with a friend who is in Portland, so how they were thriving, and decided I ruined his life. He said I had too much control over his life, and that he hated the idea that I could just decide not to pay for things and fuck him over. I also don't even know what that means. He also said he hated that all his friends loved me and didn't let him vent about me. Then he said again, I'm done. I was floored. I had already made peace with the idea that we were ending, and it hurt, but after that run, I was just disgusted. I looked at him, probably with a disgusted expression, and said, okay. He lost it. He said this is exactly what he meant, that it was horrible. We had been together for 4 years, and all I had to say was okay for our breakup. I just asked if he wanted to stay here while he figured out where to go. He said, typical, of course you're holding the apartment over me, and started ranting again, so I just left. I told my parents, and they are also confused. My dad suggested I reach out to our landlord and explain the situation to see what options I have. I can keep paying the rent no problem myself, cover the utilities and some subscriptions. Just to reiterate, I never had a problem with this. I thought he was chasing his dream, and that was more important to me than a 50-50 financial split. I make good money, and I'm happy at my job. I never saw it as living away. I always had the mentality that my money was our money because we were building a life together. Of course, I had my own savings and fun money, but I honestly never cared. As long as I felt he was working towards something and wasn't taking advantage of me, I was fine with it. More than fine. Alex is still mad. He's going between texting me like a robot about the logistics of the split to being a seasoned asshole complaining about everything. I'm not even hard anymore. I just feel nauseated by him at this point. I don't know. Should I have reacted differently? Edit. Thank you all for your opinions. It was nice to get the stuff on my chest, lol. Just to clarify, so I don't feel like a victim. I feel like something happened and my relationship just turned bad. He behaved like an asshole, but that isn't the extent of it. Very clearly, something is going on. But he doesn't want me to be part of whatever it is, and I have to respect it. Now I just have to detangle myself legally from him, and after that, I'll just be left alone with my ugly green wool collar. I think I might also adopt a cat, as my ex was really allergic. Um, okay, this somewhat a light-hearted story. It's not wholesome, but it's a bit funny because the guy was clearly projecting. He didn't like his life. He hated himself very much, and he didn't like that he was at fault. So he found a scapegoat for himself, and he had a problem that that scapegoat just didn't agree with him, didn't play it, and say, "Yes, it's all my problem. I'm so horrible." No, she just said, "Okay." And that was it. I think he was like fishing for some reaction, maybe that he's wrong, or maybe some validation. Some of the comments that basically hates himself for the decisions he took without ever consulting you. He chose his comforts, but now since others seem in a better position, he is venting on you and making you the culprit. Not the asshole. But your man has a little brain and doesn't know what to do with it. OP. I would have supported him if he wanted to move away. I know we would have stayed together because our years are hard, but I would have been 100% support you. Another comment, another asshole. Your response was sort of what I would have probably said in the same situation. He pretty much was like, I hate everything, you have ruined my life, blah blah blah. What else is there to say than okay? It's not as he let the door open to work on your issues. He just ranted at you and said he was done. End of conversation. Opie replied. He also in my eyes, he had already emotionally broken out with me for a while. That's probably what happened because he wasn't happy with the relationship because he hated his life. I mean, I think he has a good life. Honestly, he's only paying for, utilities and some subscriptions. And he wouldn't be worried that he wouldn't have anywhere to live if he suddenly lost his way of getting money. I think he had it pretty good. But he was an asshole. He is an asshole here. Or maybe he's just confused. Maybe he's a little itty baby. Perhaps he was an only child. Okay, for our last story, I have chosen a story from subreddit of my chest, and the title is I found messages that my boyfriend sent his ex the other night. They were so sweet they made me want to cry. My boyfriend was previously married in his 20s. He never talks about her much, just that it was something that happened in his life, and he doesn't think of her much anymore. He's never said anything bad about her, but he has indicated that she had some mental health issues that led to the decline of their marriage. All in all, I figured her loss was my gain, as my boyfriend is the sweetest, kindest partner I have ever had. Today he is at work, but told me I could go into his place to hang out before he got off. I got on his laptop to watch some Netflix and found it open to Facebook. Yeah, he lives in the past bit. There was a chat box open with a woman's name. It took me a minute, but I eventually recognized it was his ex-wife. My hackles were up. I will admit, for a horrible few seconds, I thought my whole happy relationship was about to crumble. But then I read them. She messaged first. He seemed frantic, maybe in the midst of a mental health crisis. She told him she desperately wanted him back, and claiming he is the only man who ever treated her with kindness. She was practically begging. And my boyfriend reported had that he is in a happy relationship and he will not respond to any contact like that again, and I let out a sigh of relief. But he went on to tell her that while will never be able to be friends, he did believe she's a good person, but her mental health issues make it impossible for her to form a stable and healthy relationship with others. He told her he hopes she can find therapy that works for her. He told her that he never wants to know her again, but he does hope that she can eventually have a stable and happy life, but that it won't happen until she confronts her troubles. He ended by reiterating that he is in a relationship with someone he loves very much, and that he won't ever respond to communication from her again. But he did wish her well. He worded it a lot more eloquently than I am able to, but I was interested at the bittersweet feeling. It reminds me of all the reasons I love him. And if I were to ever speak to his ex, I would tell her that I'm truly sorry for what she has to deal with. Part of me wanted to be angry that she would send a message to my boyfriend like that, but I really only feel sympathy. I'm sorry you are hurting, and I'm sorry for how it is affecting your life. I'm sorry it made you miss out on the wonderful relationship I have now. I hope you can find your own one day when you are healthy. Okay, this one is a bit sad. I'm really sorry for the ex-wife, and well, it must be hard for her. She's probably, I can't guess what her mental issues is, but she's probably in a similar situation that the guy from a previous, our today's story was, who was really depressed after his parents died, and the OP wanted to break up with him. I feel really sad for her. This is like really sad. One of the comments, you and your boyfriend sound like nice people. Hopefully she gets the right help. Yeah, everyone hopes so. Another comment, I will play devil's advocate a bit since everyone seems in awe of you here. He stopped class a lot, but he did go into his private messages, which he may or may not be cool with. So think about it because you may have some trust issues with someone you'd probably describe as the greatest man of all time. I didn't get the feeling like that when she was writing it all out. I think she saw that like she opened and it was open on one of the tabs for on Facebook messages, and she was like, "Hey, what's his name here?" And she checked out. I like trust but verify. I don't know. This story is wholesome, but I wouldn't say that they're nice, they're kind, but I feel sorry for the ex-wife, and I'm sorry for the guy because he clearly doesn't think that the relationship could have survived, and maybe something happened more that we don't know about because he clearly doesn't like that person anymore. He wishes her well, but he doesn't want to know her. That's something. And okay, we have officially hit land and the tea has officially been spilled. I'm dropping the intro here. See you in the next one. Bye.